I'm Anne-Marie from Brambleberry.com. You have been asking for a rebatch soap video for, well, a long time, and I'm here to give you one. And just to put a little twist into it, we're going to be using Brambleberry's brand new product, the African Black Soap Crumbles, inside of our rebatch soap to create some really gorgeous, interesting looks, and also maybe help you create a really fantastic facial bar. So let's talk a little bit about these African Black Soap Crumbles. First of all, they are made in Ghana by a women's cooperative. We get these products, actually we partnered with Baraka Shea Butter to be the distributor for their products, and they come directly to us from Ghana where they are made traditionally. And what does traditional African black soap mean, and what is that? Well, interestingly enough, the traditional method involves burning palm fronds at a very high heat and then taking all of those ashes, running hot water through them and getting sodium hydroxide or potash. That's like literally the way that used to be done back in the day. Those ashes, which are now sodium hydroxide or potash, are then mixed with shea butter and coconut oil and other skin-loving oils over a fire in a cauldron. Literally, you put it into a cauldron, it's over a fire. The women work and stir and stir and stir until you get this beautiful product that, and I'm not making any medical claims, but if you do some Google work on it, you'll see African Black Soap has really got a lot of claims on it, from everything from how it works on people's skin to clearing up all kinds of skin conditions. And we just say it's soap, but we love it because it's so interesting, so different, it's fair trade, and it helps to promote women businesses and women-owned cooperatives out of Africa. So these black soap crumbles are really interesting. First of all, I am going to be using them with Brambleberry's Luxury Shea rebatch just because these are a little bit hard. You can totally get them to melt down, just takes a little bit of extra work. You can also incorporate them in a way that we really, well, I'm super excited about. We put them into a Brambleberry Quick Mix. This is literally 5% of the African Black Soap Crumbles in one of Brambleberry's Quick Mixes. So this is just a Brambleberry Quick Mix that's been pre-measured for you. It's really formulated to make beautiful soap, and we put 5% of this crumble in. So you can either rebatch the soap like I'm about to show you, or use this quick mix and to make your soap with African Black Soap Crumbles. One note about those African Black Soap Crumbles though is, since you heard me describe how they're made, well, they can be a little inconsistent sometimes in texture, shape, size, so that's something to keep in mind when you are working with this product. It's got a pretty neutral smell, and so you don't really have to work to over-scent it. It is I would say it's more of a musky base note to it. We are going to be making a bar that I'm hoping you're gonna use on your face. So I'm gonna be using lavender essential oil, patchouli essential oil, and if you have acne prone skin, you might wanna use tea tree essential oil. But this is a great product to add some really interesting things to your line of soap or for a limited edition product. So rebatch soap is basically using pre-made soap shreds that are cold processed soap that have been made ahead of time, adding them to a crock pot or a double boiler, some water, some liquids, applying heat, and then letting the whole thing kind of melt down. And it doesn't really melt down, it more like squooshes and glops down and kind of creates a thick mashed potato, oatmeal, gluey type thing that you glop into your mold. The bonus for doing this is you get cold processed soap without having to work with lye, and of course there is no cure time. Now, of course, you're gonna want all that extra water to evaporate out, so you probably wanna wait 2 to 4 weeks before giving it away or selling, but there is no actual cure time to get the pH down because you added lye. Fun fact about these soap shreds is that Brambleberry makes them all in our Bellingham, Washington warehouse using recipes that I developed over 20 years ago when I first started soap making. So in this particular recipe, I haven't found any difference between adding these slowly or adding them a lot. So I'm just gonna add this whole thing to the pot, and then I'm going to be applying heat, adding some liquids, and then I'm going to be adding our African Black Soap Crumbles. So with rebatch soap, you do need a little bit of extra liquid, but it's kind of an art. You never really know exactly how much. This is 21 ounces of the Brambleberry Luxury Shredded Rebatch, and it's made fresh in the Brambleberry warehouses, so it melts down, glops down pretty quickly, pretty easily. I think I'm gonna need about 4 ounces, but you never wanna add more than you need. So I'm just gonna start with like an ounce-ish, and then kind of just give this a stir, give it a wait, and then I can always add more. One thing to note, whenever you're working with the African Black Soap Crumbles, these are really dry, so you end up needing to use just a little bit more moisture to get these to incorporate into this softer luxury rebatch soap than you would if you were just making rebatch without your crumbles. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw all these in. I know I wanna use them anyway, so it's better to get them all incorporated in, melted in, softened down now, rather than wait to the end. So I'm just gonna give this a stir and incorporate those black soap crumbles in. Now, if you think you've added too much water, so no, you can't take it out, but you can just cook it longer and have it evaporate out, like if you added too much water to your rice, for example, when you were cooking. So you can always just cook it longer to evaporate out that extra water. So while this is cooking, I put this lid on, get it kind of softening up, and I'm gonna make my essential oil blend. Now for this particular batch today, and because I'm making it for me, I'm gonna do lavender 4042 from Brambleberry and a little bit of patchouli essential oil. I do want this for my face, so I'm gonna keep it really lightly scented. I'm just gonna go with about 0.1 ounces of the lavender 4042 and about 0.1 ounces of the patchouli. And again, if you really wanted to do this for acne or oily prone skin, definitely toss in some tea tree and really kind of medicinal up this blend, because lavender plus tea tree would be a great facial blend as well. I just happen to be pretty partial to patchouli, and something about the color of this final bar kind of screams patchouli to me. I love the kind of base notes that patchouli gives too. It's so warm and luscious. But if you don't like patchouli, just keep this to just straight lavender or any other essential oil that you want to have close to your face. Another caveat, if you don't love patchouli and you do not want this on your face and you want it for your body, you know what? You might want a scent heavier than what I'm doing, which is, again, 0.2 ounces total of this blend for the entire batch. So, ooh, it is kind of scorching on the bottom. So I'm gonna definitely add some more moisture to this as soon as possible right now. Keep that soap from scorching. Well, I just went ahead and overdid it and I just added all of the rest of it. So this is gonna be great because it's gonna help increase the speed of our melt and our glop. And I really don't think it's gonna be too much because, again, with how dry these soap crumbles are, you do need a little bit of extra water to try and work this in. And this is doing a great job melting down and glopping up. So you can see where we're at now. This has been on the heat for 20 to 30 minutes, and I've still got a little bit of moisture that I can keep mixing in. It's at a good consistency. You can see that the African black soap crumbles are still very present. They have not really softened up that much. And of course you can see individual soap shreds, but we're getting to a pretty good consistency. At this point you have some choices. One, like this thing right here, you can pull that out if you don't want that really big chunk of soap. If you don't want it, I don't mind it, quite frankly. Or you can add some more liquid here. I think I'm gonna add just a little bit of more liquid because I don't wanna see my soap shreds. I don't need to use the soap right away. I'm okay with the trade-off of a little bit more kind of drying time. So I'm gonna add probably another 2 ounces of water. So I think that last 2 ounces of water did the trick. Now it's time to add my essential oils. I'm adding them right at the end because I don't want these precious essential oils to flash off in any way or lose any of their kind of scent or efficacy from extra heat. But on the other hand, I can't really turn off the heat because if I do, then the soap doesn't get gloppable. So you just kind of mix this in as fast as you can. And yes, this does take a little bit of elbow grease. I am feeling this in my biceps and also in my wrists, interestingly enough. So this is mashed up. My essential oil blend is in. I am pretty happy about how this looks. So now we're ready for the very kind of random, embarrassing looking glop, glop, glop. This is not real technical, you guys. This is not pretty, but however you can get this into your mold quickly before it sets up is, well, that's the best way to do it. I am just literally kind of smearing this in. I'm gonna tamp it down in just a second. And then once I get it in, then I will work on kind of getting myself a little bit of texture. But I want all of this in my soap mold before it gets too hard. And I'm gonna be able to mold and mound, which is gonna be fun, but I need this in and I don't wanna waste any of it. So now I'm just gonna do a real quick tamp on the counter so I get rid of any air bubbles in here. So, okay. Wow, that was loud. And then I'm going to just kind of use this to do whatever. And so I'm just gonna I'm gonna mound and press down because I wanna make sure that this is getting all in there. You can already see this is turning white on top as it starts to harden, so I don't have a whole lot of time to play with this. So what I'm gonna try right now is just wetting my spoon and just kind of seeing if I can get some better texture on here. You could also, if you're wearing gloves, you could also completely kind of push this down and manipulate it with gloved hands, but this is pretty warm still. You know, think scalding oatmeal. So that's why I'm using the spoon. So I've now got kind of a little wave going, which is fun. And then once I get my wave, I'm gonna try and squish it down in the middle and see what I get. Boy, I love how this African black soap really made some fun, gorgeous texture in here. It really adds some interest to this bar. And of course, from a marketing standpoint, you get to say, made with African black soap. And know that your purchase is helping a women's cooperative in Ghana. So now that we have our flat texture here, I'm just gonna use a smaller spoon and just give this a more uneven look. That's kind of a little bit more CP-like, cold process. Okay, and this is getting hard, so I'm here. I've got to stop playing. It's hard. This looks like marzipan now, that yummy Norwegian candy, which now just makes me hungry. Okay, I'm done. I've created texture. I'm excited about this. And now it's time to just let this sit for about 4 to 7 days until it's ready to unmold and cut. So I made this 4 days ago, and since every loaf is different, I can't wait to see what we created. Going to just slide our little handy dandy. Ooh, that was so convenient. I love these sliding bottom molds. They are the best. And using my silicone liner, I'm just gonna peel gently away from the sides, and I see a lot of great texture going on in here, which makes a lot of sense. When you consider that kind of texture that we use when we pour, it's a really thick oatmeal, so of course you're gonna see kind of a thick oatmeal-y mashed potatoes look on the side. So it's looking pretty good. And now I can't wait to cut. So what I am expecting to see is just a little bit of maybe a few of those larger African black soap crumbles in here that didn't melt down as easily. So when I cut, every bar is a surprise. This is cutting so beautifully. Now remember, of course, 4 to 6 weeks of a little bit of additional cure time isn't necessary from a pH standpoint, like making the soap more gentle, but it is necessary from a bar longevity standpoint, right? We want all of that excess moisture to evaporate out over that 4 to 6 weeks. And because we included so much extra moisture and so much extra water to get it to that oatmeal gloppy stage, all of that wants to evaporate out, so we get a really long-lasting bar of soap in the shower. Otherwise, the soap, though it is ready to use literally today and will lather and be beautiful, just won't last as long because it's a little bit soft. So I love how these came out. I do see one bigger chunk. Remember how I was saying there'll be some bigger chunks? So that's a really big chunk of that African soap crumble. And it's great because it's soap. So there's nothing wrong with it, and it adds interest and a little bit of cool factor to the bar. Thanks so much for watching today's episode on how to make soap with African black soap crumbles. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And of course, when you make products using Brambleberry products, and especially if you make this project, please hashtag it BrambleOn on social media so we can see what you're creating, and so well, all the other makers out there can also see it. Until next time, happy soaping. Ready?
Yes.
This is gonna happen. This is gonna be, this is our shot.
So yeah, you're gonna lift. So lift and pull.
Here we go, pulling. Boom! Ow! I love it when an idea comes together.